What is epistemology? The word itself comes from two Greek words, episteme, which means knowledge or understanding, and logia, which means science or study. So in a philosophical context, epistemology is the study of knowledge in general. And examples of philosophical epistemological questions are: what does knowledge mean, and how does a person get to know something, and what is the basis for true knowledge? What is knowledge? Some say it's justified true belief. It means that a person must be able to justify the claim, and the claim itself must be true, and the person must also actually believe in it. Let's assume that a person says, I know that people have walked on the moon. For this to be true knowledge, it must be possible to justify that claim. It must also be a fact. And finally, the person must also actually believe that people have walked on the moon. So how do you justify a belief? Well, it's done by using evidence. This evidence must be of good quality, and it should also be a logical and reasonable piece of evidence. Over time, there's been two major branches of philosophical epistemology, namely empiricism and rationalism. Empiricism, true knowledge, is primarily founded on input from our senses, the empirical world around us. And it's important to refer to experience and observations when beliefs and claims are justified and proven. So ideas or traditions, well, they might be important, but they are not the primary, most important sources for new knowledge. Rationalism, on the other hand, emphasizes reason rather than experience and observations as the primary basis for justifying beliefs and claims. Thus, the rational, hence rationalism, and logical human mind is the source for new knowledge, not the material world around us. So, according to rationalism, research results are verified primarily by reasoning. In a non-philosophical context, we've seen the use of the concept of epistemology. And this is because the task of producing new knowledge is a major part of the everyday work of most academics. So epistemology has a significant impact on the scientific endeavors of most scholars, giving the importance of this concept for discussing the limits and possibilities of creating and reporting new knowledge. Further, scholars in certain academic departments and disciplines, such as, for example, curriculum and instruction, educational science, and pedagogy, have more or less an inherent interest in issues related to knowledge. Formal epistemology, what is that? Well, it is the study of questions such as what is knowledge, how may a belief be justified, how do we know something, and how do we know that something is true? However, the theories and concepts and arguments used here are used in a non-philosophical context. For example, in mathematical logic, statistics, linguistics, computing, and other academic fields. Genetic epistemology, well, it's used to understand the cognitive development among children and how children interact, understand, learn, and acquire new knowledge about the world. So in short, the theory implies that symbolic systems, i.e. the individual's thoughts and knowledge, are based on sensory motor schemes, i.e. the individual's impressions and experiences in the world. And this concept of genetic epistemology comes from the Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget. Social epistemology is about the social context for creating new knowledge. Social epistemology is studied in academic fields such as sociology, psychology, and education. In focus are human and social aspects of knowledge production. For example, historical and cultural factors, the access to and the use of learning tools, and so on. So having access to YouTube and the tutorials about philosophical concepts could be a perfect example of aspects that are in focus for those that are interested in social epistemology.